Hello, everybody, and happy Tuesday, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. We've got some still images to go through, and now that I'm sharing my screen, I think we're ready to roll. All right, we've got Kat and Ruby with us here live, so we'll start with Kat's. So, Kat, I think that overall you've got some nice darkening that's going on here. I think we can actually get a little bit, like, because it's kind of a lifted dark value over here, and I think we can go a little bit, like, a little bit more kind of into a true darkness over there. That's too much, but I think your head's in the right place. I think that this is moving along well, and I think that's looking really good. For the now I'm just looking in here. I almost wonder if we shouldn't. How do we get more light in there? I think it's just a matter of maybe just some more. Oh, like maybe some more fill light in there. It's really just because we have, like, the values. If in the rest of the scene, like, there were a lot of deep, dark, rich blacks. Like, if this was like The Godfather and there were a lot of like really black parts of the image, then okay. I think this would be perfect. But since we're kind of like we've got some fill values in the rest of it, I think we want to fill this in and just add a little bit more light to this, almost like there's a little bit of a bounce light or a fill light coming in there, just to, okay. and really, and I think it will be done in the lighting more, just a little bit more, just to get, again, brightest part of the image back in here. Other thing I was thinking was.
Do you like the blue in the background of the fog? I was going back and forth. I wanted it to look a bit more moonlighty and not just black.
Yeah, so. That looks great. That looks back there. It looks great. It's really, honestly, it's just this area right here and this area right here. Just because, like, everywhere else it looks great. Actually, now that I look at this, if this was me, I would just take basically everything that's within the fence in this foreground. And darken that just a little bit more, because it's so close to camera in there that you wouldn't expect it to get that much kind of a foggy feel to it, and so now like it kind of creates more depth. And the blur on the map. Yeah, and you can step it up a little bit. Now that I do that, it's like it's kind of hard edge this too. So now we've got that kind of. So you got that coming up. Now, I'm looking at the cats, and they've all got beautiful little riblets on them, right? I am wondering if we can't do something to get there. Like, I just maybe want to, like, and really what it was is when I zoomed in here before when I was prepping for this. Like, do you see how we can see, like, a little bit of the eyes? Like, what if we goose that a little bit more? What if, like, in each one of them we just saw, like, a couple... excuse me. If we just saw like a little bit of the eye peeking through on each one of them, because I think that would be really, really impactful. I think it would be kind of cool.
How would I go about doing that? Should I add more lights?
I think like... no lights. Do this in the shader. Okay. For the cat.
Oh, to make it more reflective or something.
I would maybe a little emission. Just make them like just like a subtle, glowing eyes? a little glowy red eyes, yellow eyes, whatever in the color scheme you want.
Okay.
But I think that could be cool. You know, maybe. I guess what it is with this bounce light, let's just pretend like this thing is kicking up a little bit more light than it really is, and just pushing. And using that
I can turn that up. That's not a problem.
Cool. But yeah, you're getting some like. The moonlight hits on the roof look really nice. You're getting some of them in some of these trees too. Like I said, the rims on the cats are looking really good. For this wall, maybe increased. Basically, I want the texture to be a little bit smaller because it feels a little big right now. So maybe just like increase the
the tiling.
The tiling. Thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, like the way this moonlight is hitting the top of this, if you could try and sprinkle that into like maybe these gravestones and stuff, like that's great because it looks so pretty. It's like good stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, this is getting better every day. I like it. I like it.
Cool.
Cool. All right, let's hop back. We'll go Alfredo's, and then we'll just go alphabetical order left to right. Okay, Alfredo. This is looking good. I think the oh, we lost Kat because she was running out the door. Okay. So I think the biggest thing that I would have you work on here, because everything, like we're getting some darkening towards the bottom, and that's all looking good. The biggest thing that I would say to work on right now is these neon lights. I think if we get those right, they will add a nice like little punch to the scene that'll look good. So I just Googled some reference here. And I just looked for like neon lights and fog and lights and fog. I think that, let me even just isolate this here. So if we can get, it doesn't need to be this extreme. I'll actually put this next to the Apollo sign. But what we're looking for is a brighter core so that it's not just red, so it actually goes white in the interior and then it glows red around it. And then a little bit there, and then same thing up here, but with the yellow lights in the low sign as well. Even the backlit letters as well. There will be some other stuff that we wanted to make adjustments to this, but I think that would be a really good focal point for you because if you can get that looking right, then everything else will really start to come together well. Because we can do, and then truthfully, what we can do is we can use the same techniques that you're doing to get that and get them on the tail lights as well, because the tail lights need a little bit of this too. Like if I did like a neon lights and fog search here, and if I did tail lights and fog, let's see. I mean, because you can see in a lot of these like the more detailed individual components of this. Even in this one, there's like that bright. Let's do this one. Because this is closest to, I would say this is pretty close to what you have in yours. You know, just like this brighter core, and then it just like falls off a little bit. And then we can keep that shape, because those three like verticals like scream, is that a Mustang? I think it's a Mustang. That type of car to me. So I think just having those to be bright, and then, so it's like, so next steps, just focus on the super bright elements, and I think you'll be in a really good spot. Kaya, I think this is looking really good. I think if it's me, I would do a bit, just like a touch more fill light in there. I think your contrast levels are a lot better. I can, like if I take this image and I blur the heck out of it, which is essentially the same as squinting at it, you know, like this area in the middle is starting to kind of pop out. Actually, it's a little bit right here. Let's see what that. It's like right in there. So yeah. So, but basically, I think we're getting the focus in the right spot. You've got that natural vignetting going on. That's really great. I just think that there is, and you see this in the forest, right? This surprised me. We were doing reference shoots for the film Epic, which all takes place at like very low to the ground in the forest this way. You would be surprised how much warm bounce light happens from the sunlight hitting the bed of the forest and kind of bouncing back up. Because what ends up happening is you get a lot of like dead leaves and stuff down here, and like the wood of the trees themselves. And that creates kind of a warm underbrush. Even though you see some greens in here, there's more warmth in the mud and all that. So it kind of creates this warm bounce up in there. So really what I want to see is probably just like an area light or something here at the ground, just like bouncing up, because you want the sunlight to hit here and then create almost an inverted variation where it's actually a little bit lighter closer to the bottom and gets darker as you go up. So I just want to see a little bit of that bounce in there on some of these elements, but it's really, really beautiful. Your shaping is there. If it was me, I'd make it a little warmer, but I think the color palette's good. It's just getting that in there. A couple of little things that I just noticed was, watch out. There seems in this corner to be something going on in the depth of field. Like there's some sharp edges, but then there's like internal inside of that is blurry. I just think that we'll see what's going on, but like, I think just that whole area should get kind of blurred out, not quite to that level. but just something like that, so we're not seeing those hard line edges. Yeah, and then I was gonna say that I thought that these leaves might be missing their texture, but they actually look like mushrooms to me. So I think they're actually mushrooms. Everything else is looking really great though. Good job overall. Yeah, just really impressive. You were able to get that level in a real-time engine. Montgomery, this is looking really good. I think for me, I was going to say I would add ambient occlusion to some of these corners, but if I'm looking at this reference, it also doesn't get that level of darkness. In fact, there's even more bounce light. Yeah, the big thing, I would add more bounce light. Pretty much the same thing what I just said to Kaya, is that this amount of light would generate more bounce. You see it here, right? Do you see how this yellow light's, like we're getting that yellow bleed up the wall, and it's actually brighter towards the base as we go up? Because it's all from that bounce light coming in there. And I think we can simulate that a little bit stronger by light bouncing up into these walls. Now, I don't necessarily think that they should be yellow, because actually it could be. Oh, this is kind of green. It works out here. Yeah, we could do the same. I just try and get a little more of that yellow bounce in there overall, because then what we could do is we could just take up the kind of overall brightness of that image and get that in there just a little bit more. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on this one. I think this is looking really good. I love the depth of field that you got in there. It feels like the right amount. It's just creating that stronger secondary bounce and that super strong key light. All right, last up for today, we have Theo. Really pretty reference. Love this color palette. The one thing about this is, when I see this, I just want to adjust the exposure. I think it feels underexposed to me. And so like, yeah, like if the house is like my main focus, it would need to be, let me do levels actually. It would need to be more inside like this range. Saturation's too much. But something more along this line in terms of how bright the house is. And then, and I mean, obviously what that's doing is blowing out the background a little bit, which, you know, you can choose to do that if you want, but really the main focus should be on getting the exposure level of our main subject matter right. Because that's like when you're photographing something, when you're filming something, generally that's kind of what you do. You want your main object to be at the proper that proper exposure level, and everything else around it to fall where it may. And in doing that too, it kind of oversaturated things. Pull that back a little bit. So one thing about yours, and you can totally do this, completely up to you. It feels like a miniature because of the amount of depth of field. Feels pretty high. Let me go back to the original. It feels like, because there's just a lot. It makes it not feel like a vast landscape as much as like a smaller set. It's similar to the way that Montgomery was able to get in his room. It's just like this heavy depth of field makes the Legos feel really small. This feels on a similar, slightly larger, but still kind of similar scale model scene. This seems like something that would very commonly be a scale model scene, so I'm cool with that. Just something to be aware of. A couple other things to watch out for. The snow in the trees back behind the house is getting a little dark and kind of dirty. So you either want to fill it in with some bounce light, some fill light, maybe some orange light from the house. Just find a way to get those values up a little bit. And then there's a lot of like light shooting out of the house in kind of like weird shapes on the ground here. I would soften that or kill it if you could. Yeah, and then the last one, and again, let me just make sure this isn't something that I'm doing. Now it becomes more obvious when the exposure comes up, but what's going on right here around the house? There's like some lines here. I don't know if it's light like shooting out of the windows or something, but there's something causing a hard line in there. In terms of, I'm just looking at the color too. Yeah. Color feels about right. Yeah, that'll work. And like, see what I'm saying about like the exposure on this one? Like this house is kind of the central exposure point, and then the rest of it kind of falls a little bit dark and less contrasty. And I don't know, I would kind of goose that a little bit, but they're really using the right exposure on the house and then letting everything else fall where it may. I actually think your image is prettier than those references, but you're doing a good job. All right, I'll bring in Ruby. Ruby, do you have any comments or anything before we depart for the day? Sorry to call you out individually, but you were the only one left, so.
No. Yeah, I agree with you with the exposure on this one. It felt kind of dark a little bit, like on the original. But yeah, other than that, I really love the way the snow kind of looks on this one too.
Yeah, the snow looks really pretty. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sorry to call you out like that, Ruby. You're amazing. All right, thank you guys so much for joining in today. Keep posting these images. I love seeing them, and I'll see you back tomorrow. All right, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Right, bye.